The No Nonsense Roundtable, a weekly radio show and podcast where host Dom Genova interviews guests from all walks of life, all with amazing stories to tell. And now, here's your host, Dom Genova.
Everybody, my main guest today is a fellow I think that you all know is Kevin Williams. And Kevin Williams, a weather guy, weathercaster, more than just a guy that would get in front of a green screen, but an educator, a lecturer, and an owner of a local company now who does everything weather-ish. And so welcome. I'm happy to have you on the show. You're certainly an entertaining and likable fellow.
You're very kind. I'm grateful for the invitation, Dom. Thank you.
Well, the thing about you, Kevin, is that in the last few years, there's been a lot of discussion, consternation about global warming and what's happening with it, and the things we need to worry about or not worry about. And you've been pretty consistent in what you have been contending about global warming. And what precipitated a little bit with me is that I just interviewed Joel Frater, who is the president of the Rochester Jamaican organization. Of course, Jamaica just went through this devastating hurricane, and is it usual? Is it unusual? Are things actually getting worse? Is there something you can do about it? I mean, I'm just going to let you. You know, you're the broadcaster. You used to do this. You used to do this for a living. So I'm just going to set you free. Okay, go ahead.
Well, Jamaica was hit very hard, especially western parts of that beautiful island, and Negril, Montego Bay, much harder hit than to the east in Kingston. We've been to Jamaica several times, and it was the strongest hurricane on record in Jamaica. And it was, it was devastating, but great relief has come to help those great people. But, you look at the bigger picture, Dom, and in fact, for the first time since 2015, no hurricane has hit the United States this year, not a one. Yeah. And globally, when you look at the different metrics we track, hurricane activity is actually down significantly compared to the longer term average. So you have an isolated case where you had a very powerful hurricane hit Jamaica, and it was really a terrible toll in the western part of the island in particular. But globally, the amounts, the numbers, the metrics are all down. And in terms of the United States, the numbers of hurricanes were close to average, but there was not in terms of tracking the North Atlantic, I should say, but not a one actually touched U.S. soil directly. So it was actually a pretty good year for that, for those concerned about such. So, you look at the longer term trends, and keep in mind when we talk about hurricanes, it's not apples to apples because we only have really good data since the satellite era in the 1970s. Satellites allow us to see wannabe storms that we might never know about way out in the distant oceans. So when you go back to the 1930s, 40s, 50s, there may have been storms, and probably were, at least fast-moving or at least small, short-lived storms we had no knowledge of. So I think it's very important to keep that in mind when you look at these numbers. It's not apples to apples. But when you do look at the satellite record from the 1970s, we see actually a slight decline in the numbers of storms and also the numbers of the Cat 3 and stronger storms. And that's just what the data shows.
Well, back in the day, you had probably no advance warning. I mean, there was the one, what was it, 1930 something down south. And I mean, would there be any indication for a hurricane coming before the days of radio?
Yeah, that's a good point. You referred to the 1936 or 1938 Long Island Express hurricane that moved right through Long Island into southern New England. But maybe the most notable was one of the most deadly, the Galveston storm of 1900, where there was a meteorologist or a weather observer who was taking some observations and thought there might be something brewing out in the Gulf, but had no way to confirm. And that storm eventually struck Galveston, taking 6,000 lives. Wow. So you're right. I mean, with satellites, especially modern satellites, the ability to forecast these events is far greater, but it's still a challenge. The struggle is with some of these intensifying storms that intensify very rapidly or explosively, and there's still much to be learned. But forecasting today, both whether it's tropical or just your average, 5 or 7 day forecast, far more accurate than it was pre-satellites, pre-Doppler radar, pre-supercomputers.
So I'm going to throw I'm going to throw maybe it's a fastball, maybe it's not a fastball. I'm going to throw a question to you. So over the years with the global warming with the global warming issue, problem, whatever you want to call it, you have been pretty steadfast in some opinions about global warming, and I think that maybe more people are coming around to your side now. Can I say that as
Well,
as
well,
something that may be
well,
happening?
Bill Gates, right? You heard of Bill
Yeah,
Gates, right? He
yeah.
was a very big proponent about, catastrophic global warming, and he said, no, you know what? Maybe not so much. And it says I'm not going to put words in his mouth. And I don't have the quote, so I'm not going to quote him, but he gives a strong impression that no, maybe the doom and gloom folks may have had some errors in their thinking, and he is no longer, as I understand it, of the opinion that we're doomed from global warming. I've always maintained, as a Boy Scout, a former
Hmm.
member of the Audubon Society, a volunteer for the Nature Conservancy, that we all should be good stewards of the planet, but that
Hmm.
we'd be better to mitigate and build smartly, because those are things we can control, meaning you build strong structures, you don't build in floodplains, those kinds of things, rather than thinking by banning by banning gas stoves in New York State, we're somehow going to change the global weather for the better. I mean, there is a lot of nonsense out there. Man, I've always maintained, the weather is a series of cycles embedded
Right.
in one another, and we can see that as temperatures go up, they go down. Remember, 18,000 years ago, we were under a mile of ice, right where you and I are sitting.
Right.
So the weather does change. The climate does change. It always has. It always will. Storms come and go, as they always have. But the idea that, as some local politicians have, that you can legislate
Right.
better weather by raising taxes and forcing electric vehicles and stoves on everybody is just, I think someday, years from now, they'll look back on this year and think, how dumb were those people? I mean, I'm sorry, but that's just how I am. It's just, we can do things, Dom, but
Mhm.
to protect against storms and changing climate conditions. But those things are by building and planning and our lifestyles, not
Mhm.
because we can somehow change the global weather. That is just CO2, it's a building block of life.
Right.
Without it, we're a lifeless rock hurtling through space. And it's been higher in the past, it's been lower in the past, but we're a lot closer to the low side concern with 400 parts per million, roughly. If we drop to 150, the scientists tell us, the botanists tell us, green life, green plants would
Mhm.
die, and we would die.
Mhm.
In submarines, the sailors in the subs, they maintain breathing CO2 several times what it is now,
Mhm.
and we exhale CO2 parts per million 10 times greater than what we take in. So there's just this whole idea that we can control the weather by forcing
Mhm.
people to avoid, to give up, their cars. And by the way, fossil fuels aren't just used in our cars. We they help, in the plastics, in the shoes we wear, in the cell phones we use. They're, fossil fuels are part and parcel of our lifestyle. So you want to give up fossil fuels, go live in a cave and get some, uh, get some sticks and stones and build a fire and hope for the best.
Well, the thing I look at it, and it, just I call myself every once in a while a little bit of a marketing guy. Okay,
Yes.
so this is like having a fish tank, and you have to clean the fish tank. Well, you can't clean a portion of the fish tank. If India and China are not going to do anything, there's
Yeah.
no there's no amount of conservation that you can do in the United States and the UK and Europe that's going to make up for that. So now you have to face reality. This is the way I'm looking at it. Now you have to face the reality. Now a solution with tactics that you can't implement is not really a solution. So to
Yeah.
say that you're going to have enough wind turbines to accommodate this need for electricity is not going to be practical. Now, one of the things I heard this morning, I wanted to talk to you about this, is that we know that like the crypto takes a lot of energy and whatever. I heard that this AI is going to be taking a
Oh,
lot of energy. Have you heard that same thing?
no, it is true. I am no
Really?
yeah, I'm no expert, but it does and it will. And maybe, I don't know this, but maybe that's the reason Bill Gates has changed his tune. I don't know, but it's huge. And that's why I just shake my head at this state's energy planning over the last several years to take away nuclear, to take away gas, to take
Yeah.
away reliable sources of energy, and in so doing, imperil the grid by forcing everyone onto electric. And AI is a huge consumer, and so that's going to just multiple
Mhm.
compounding of the problems. And I think some politicians are beginning to figure that out, but it's just, you wonder just what were they thinking when they were mandating this with all that's going on, and AI just makes it even greater. And your point about China, my understanding is China permits 2 new coal plants a week. Gives
Yes, I hear that. Yeah.
it gives permission to 2 more coal plants on average per week. So the idea, again, that I go back to this, but it just is mind bending that by forcing people to use an electric stove, which is what they've been talking about in New York State, will somehow negate all that's going on in India and China, is just frankly mind-bendingly dumb. I can't wrap my head around it. They don't look at the data. Are they beholden to special interest? What are they thinking? I don't know, but I do know that we have reliable energy. Under our feet, Dom, in the southern tier, we have an almost limitless supply of natural gas. Oh, and by the way, just so you know, when they talk about going to all electric,
Yeah.
where does half of our electric generation come from in this state? It comes from natural gas. So they want to eliminate natural gas, but half the electricity generation comes from
Mhm.
natural gas. So it's a circle of just incredible thinking. Leave it at that.
Well, you being vocal about this past couple of years, you've got some heat about this, right? You're not part of the group. Everybody else feels differently than you do, and whatever,
Well,
right? I
I think
mean,
more people are
you
coming
got a
around.
little
And may
bit.
I point
You
out
got
that it's not
Yeah.
the popular opinion. And I have colleagues, in
Oh
broadcasting
yeah.
who
Yeah.
share, my opinion, but they can't speak out to it. And my goal in
Yeah.
life isn't to speak out about this. You're asking. My goal is to predict the weather for our clients, our radio
Yeah.
stations, to research the weather for our forensic clients. But you're asking, and forgive me, I've got some contract work going on right now. So
Hmm.
the puppy has apparently decided she's not happy with it. So I may have to attend to
Hmm.
that, but I apologize. But at any rate, so yeah, it's a big deal with me to the extent that it's just a lot of misinformation out there.
Yeah. Yeah, and you got, you have to stay the course, through this because what's happening, I think that the pendulum's swinging in a lot of social issues right now, and this is one of them. People have to come to the conclusion that you can't legislate an increase in electricity. And the last thing I heard is that all these developments that they have, these built, that they can't be building these houses
Right.
if you want
That's
everything to be
right.
electric, right? Where's the
That's
electric?
exactly right. The concern is, and I'm sorry, should I grab my dog? Should I do that?
No, 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 no. That's I no, I no. She's more attentive and nicer than my cat. My cat
Well,
sings
if she's
opera.
annoying, I will grab
No,
her.
no, my cat sings opera.
Sunshine,
That's
sunshine,
okay.
quiet. All right, we'll see if that works. But
I love it.
at any rate, to your point, refresh my memory on your question.
I forgot we started talking about dogs. I forgot what we were talking about.
The mandate, the
Oh no,
mandating,
no,
right?
no, no. The houses that
Oh
are
yeah,
dictated now, yeah,
right,
that they can't have gas and all this other
right.
stuff. They have to be electric,
It
and
just
and now the grid. Now they said what? There's a whole development that they can't complete because of the
right.
energy
Oh,
requirements,
there have been
right?
several. There have been several, and so that they're stifling. It's just backwards policy. They are stifling the. I'm going to close my door. That'll be easier. Will that be better? Can I go
No,
closer to the?
I don't even hear her.
You
That's
don't hear it? Okay,
I
very
don't hear
good.
her
All
at all.
right.
I don't hear her at
All
all.
right. She's a good girl, but there's contract work going on here at our house, so
This
it's a
is
little bit
this is
crazy at the
this is
moment.
the most human. This is the most
Well,
human
I wanted
interview
to
I've
have this
had
conversation with you, and this was
in
the one
6
window I
years.
had, but I do have work going on here,
No,
and she's
that's
not
okay.
pleased.
I know you got work to do, so we got to run. But go ahead.
But no, we're all
Yeah,
this good. I'm talking about the contractors,
yeah.
but yeah, it's the idea that we're going to force this strategy of all electric and it diminishes our economy. You can't the people can't build because there's not enough. And guess what? It's only going to get worse with the current trends. I worry about the future summers. I think we'll have to get used to brownouts and blackouts if this strategy of all electric, isn't changed. It's just, they've closed nuclear. They're
Right.
not taking advantage of natural gas. They want to kill natural gas. It is to the detriment of the taxpayer, who will now pay more because electricity is more. The so-called green or renewables, solar and wind, are much more expensive, and so you pay more for less reliability. And oh, by the way, for those who want to build on, beyond, not going to happen until things change. So it really is an interesting strategy, but that's where we are.
Well, it's sort of like people think that electric is magical and free. Yeah,
Right.
oh yeah, yeah. Oil bad. Take it from the ground and you burn the oil or the
Yeah.
coal. Electric. Oh well, that's free. I mean, that just appears.
And just keep in mind as well, these renewables, they call them green, but they're not green. There are
Ah,
fossil fuels involved in mining the rare
mhm,
earth minerals for them, some of which are toxic to those who are actually mining. And in China, they have, they force, some groups to mine. There are fossil fuels involved in the construction, the transportation, and some of these wind turbines, for example, I mean, what happens when you have a steel structure that is moving? You need to have lubrication. So you
mhm.
need oil, hundreds of gallons of oil to make these things turn. So, and of course, when the wind doesn't blow, then nothing
Yeah,
happens. And
yeah,
if the
nothing
sun
happened.
doesn't shine, you get nothing. Wind and solar, when it comes to capacity factor, the ability to produce energy against what is the maximum potential, are the weakest. You have nuclear, you have natural gas, you have coal, and right at the bottom of the list is solar, and right above that is wind because they're not reliable. They are
Mhm.
intermittent. They're great on if you want to have a little wind turbine in your backyard, put some panels on your roof, fine. I'm for free choice. But the idea
Mhm.
of commercial, municipal uh, reliance on these as a primary source is it just goes against what I've read and seen and what the data shows.
Well, the other thing is that the electric transmission can only go so many miles, right? I mean,
That's true too.
you can't
That's
have a
part of
solar farm.
the
Yeah,
right.
solar farm in Arizona taking care of upstate New York.
Right. That's part of the problem too, the cost of the transmission, because solar in and of itself, producing energy just on a rooftop is not expensive and not difficult, but getting it to where it needs to go, holding on to it, using it when it's not clear and sunny, is a whole different story. And that's why you look at the data out of California, which leads the way, and you see as their reliance on solar and wind has increased, so has the unit cost of electricity for Californians,
Mhm.
because of, again, the unreliability and the cost for bringing that energy to the consumer. Of course, I'm probably not telling you anything you don't know, Don, but in terms of solar generation, let's say in Western New York, it's not exactly a particularly sunny climate this time of year. As you and I are talking,
Yeah,
it's sunny, but
yeah,
the
yeah,
capacity to produce energy in the winter months in Western New York, owing to cloud cover,
yeah.
long, dark winter nights, and snow cover, there are some months that you get less than 3%, meaning 97% of the time you're getting zero on the commercial side. So I'm all for choice. If people want to put up panels on their roof,
Mhm.
that's great. But I'm against mandating and forcing, and in this particular case, because it takes away choice, consumer choice, it raises costs, and it presents potentially a very unreliable grid,
Right.
and questionable consistency of your energy supply.
Yeah. So Kevin, thank you ever so much for coming on my show again. You're always a delight. You really are.
Well,
All I have to do is set you free. It's really great, and it's good to see your scientific and untrammeled view of these issues, because some things I'm not a scientist. Some things just don't make any sense to me.
well,
You can't magically get enough electricity to handle all of these problems, and I understand it is honorable, like Don Quixote, to go out and try to fight a windmill, but you're fighting a windmill. You're not going to win. So there you go.
Well, I appreciate you're a delight, Dom. I appreciate the invitation. As we're having this conversation, I really wanted to have this with you before the holidays kicked in, and I do apologize. Work is being done on the home right now, and you might or might not have heard the puppy in the background.
Oh,
and
no,
I
no.
do apologize, but you're
No,
catching
no.
me at my most regular self now as I'm going back and forth between the contract work and the puppies. So for any extraneous noises,
No,
sounds,
no,
what
no, no,
have
no.
you, my
No, no, no.
apologies for that. But I did want us to
No,
have
no.
this conversation that
No,
you
no, 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 no.
invited me on. So thank you.
No, 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 it's delightful, and quite frankly, I didn't even hear the dog, so that's
Okay.
fine. So,
All right. Very
Kevin,
good.
have a great week. I will talk to you after the first of the year. Maybe we'll do it again in the spring. But
Great.
I appreciate you and what you do and your friendship. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, we are on to our next section.
Thanks for listening. You can find our previous shows at nononsenseroundtable.com. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll make more.